Hello, my name is Dr. Winslow. I am a professor of psychology. Give it up for psychology. Don't get nervous about it. I'm not going to start analyzing you probably. I got a chance to speak at new student convocation last week. Who was there? A few people. Thank you for those people who showed up again to hear me talk. You're my people. I love you. That's awesome. The new people, I love you for being here too. So thank you for showing up. I'm just going to catch you new people up to what I talked about for just 5 minutes at the convocation. Don't worry, you're not going to miss anything. One thing I talked about at the convocation was fun. Now, I'm a psychology professor, and what that means, one of the things that means is that we like to use the technical terms for things. Fun is not a technical term. In psychology, instead of that term, we use the term pleasure. Anybody getting nervous now? No? All right. Well, how about this? I know about something that causes you pleasure. Now it's getting weird. Now it's getting weird. That's all right. It's not a big surprise. It's not a weird thing. I know one thing that causes you pleasure. Games, right? Games cause you pleasure, right? Who likes to play games? Everybody likes to play games. I know all of you like to play games because they're all over the place. There are board games and card games and tabletop games and athletic games, PC games, console games, games on your phone, right? Who's played a game in the last week? Come on, I know you've all played games. So, I'm going to tell you something about games and about your favorite game in a minute. But I want you to think about what your favorite game is. Your favorite game of all time. It could be any kind of game at all. You got it? But you know what your favorite game is? I want you to turn to someone that you don't know and tell them what your favorite game is. Go. All right. Okay, did anybody have the same favorite game that you talked to? Anyone? One? What was it? Skyrim. Awesome, fabulous. Now, the fact that only one couple had the same favorite game tells us that there are lots of kinds of games, right? Many kinds of games. Now, I'm going to tell you something about your favorite game in a minute. But before I do that, I want to tell you about a friend of mine, actually a student of mine. Her name is Erica, and she is in one of my classes right now. And last week, Erica told me that she's been playing basketball since she was 3 years old. 3 years old, that's pretty incredible. And my feeling was that she just didn't play casually since she was 3. She played really intensely since she was 3. So I asked her to talk to me about and tell me about basketball. And so she met me after class last week. Very nice of her to do that. And she told me a story about basketball, and I was blown away by her story. And so I asked Erica to come here tonight to tell you her story about basketball. And if you can believe it, she said yes. So I'm going to ask Erica to join me on the podium, and while she does, let's give her a big hand of applause. All right, hold on. I'm going to pass the mic over to her. So just hold that.
Okay.
So, Erica, is it true that you've been playing basketball since you were 3?
Yes, it is. So when I was 3, my mom put me in my first Pee Wee League, if you want to call it. I'm sure all of you know what that is if you played sports. That's where I started off. And then as I got older, I got put on my first travel team when around the age of like 8 or 9. After that, I played travel ball until I was able to play middle school. When I hit the 3rd grade, I tried out for the middle school team, and I made the team and was able to play 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. After that, when I hit the 7th grade, I was finally able to try out for the high school team. Doing that, I got to play high school from 7th grade all the way up until my senior year. So I've been playing for a very long time.
And then you got a scholarship.
I did. So I ended up getting a few scholarships, but I ended up having to turn them down. One, because I got hurt, and they told me if I would continue to play, I'd have to have 2 or 3 surgeries on my ankles. So I decided to just come to college.
So did you stop playing basketball?
No, I still play on the weekends, and I play here at the rec sometimes.
So are you going to have surgery?
Hopefully not. I mean, I'm not playing competitively anymore, so.
But you still play.
Yes.
And so do you love basketball?
Yeah, it's probably my favorite thing in the world.
Favorite thing in the world. Thank you. Don't go far.
Okay.
I got one more question for you.
Okay.
So are you blown away by her? I was blown away by, so this, I don't know if you realize what you said. When she was in 3rd grade, she was playing with middle school kids. And when she was in junior high, she was playing with high school varsity kids. So that's amazing, right? That blew me away. And I want you to think about what percentage of Erica's life she has been thinking about or playing basketball. All the time, she says, right? So practices, games, rehab, right? Rehab. But even when she wasn't doing those things in classes, thinking about basketball, talking to her friends, thinking about what? Drawing plays, probably dreamt about basketball. So just an amazing amount of her life so far, she has spent thinking about or playing basketball. That's amazing. Now I got one more question for you. When you think about your basketball career now, and you look back on all the basketball you played, all those little accomplishments, how do you feel?
I feel grateful that I was able to play the game that I love as long as I could. I mean, it sucks that I can't play anymore, but just to know that I was accomplished throughout my career that I did play makes me feel awesome.
Awesome, grateful, pride? You have pride about it?
Yeah.
Pride. So she's already done something in her life that she is proud of, and she should be, in my estimation, right? I mean, that's pretty incredible. Now, here's a question for you. How long do you think her pleasure from playing basketball when she was a kid is going to last her in her life? A year? 5 years? How long is she going to be able to look back during her life and think about her childhood playing basketball and feel good about it? How long?
All the time.
All the time. Maybe the rest of her life. So we've learned something about pleasure already tonight. One thing we've learned, and this is in some ways a surprise, I don't know what you think about when you think about the word pleasure, but she did something that caused her pleasure not only at that moment. Are you okay? Thank you. Let us know if you need help. Where is Brian? Is Brian Mackin in here? Here we go. Thank you. So she felt really good while she was playing basketball, and she's going to potentially feel good about it for the rest of her life. So that is an incredibly long-lasting pleasure that she had. Now I'm going to tell you something about, thank you. Let's give her a hand of applause. How'd you like to stand up here and talk about yourself to all these people? It's hard. All right, so I'm going to tell you something about your favorite game. Now, I don't know what your favorite game is. It doesn't matter. Here's what I know about your favorite game. Well, first let me ask you this. How long have you been playing your favorite game? Raise your hand if you've played your favorite game for at least a year. Anybody play it for 2 years? Been playing it for 2 years? 5 years? Anybody? Wow, okay, so some of you have played your favorite game for a really long time. So here's the secret. The reason that game is your favorite is because you worked so hard on it. Think about that for a second. Now you might think that you play your favorite game because it's your favorite game and you like it. You play it because it's fun. That's part of it. But really, as a psychology professor, I can tell you, it's also true that the reason that you like your favorite game is because you worked so hard on it. And in fact, there are some things in our life that work this way. The harder we work at it, the more pleasure we get. I bet you that's true of Erica, right? The more she played basketball, the more pleasure she got out of it. I bet you that's true of your favorite game. The more you played that favorite game, the more pleasure you got out of it. So we learned two important things about pleasure tonight already. One is pleasure can last a lot longer than that thing's going to last. Pleasure can last a really long time, maybe your entire life. And some things you get more pleasure the more effort you put into it. That's pretty incredible, but I've got a third incredible thing about pleasure, about that same pleasure, about your pleasure that I know about. And I bet you this is true of Erica. Think about what Erica did. Think about how what she did affected the people around her. Think about her family, her friends. Do you think they got pleasure out of what Erica did? They probably liked it too. It was great for them to see. What about her teammates, or her coaches, or the trainers, or her community, her school? There were a lot of people that surrounded Erica that got pleasure from what Erica did. It's like Erica dropped a pleasure bomb on them. And it spread out to a whole bunch of other people. So, pleasure can work this way. Pleasure can work this way. The harder you work on it, the more pleasure you're going to get. And that pleasure might last a really long time. And that pleasure might make other people feel really good as well. That is a spectacular thing about pleasure. I bet you didn't think pleasure was that complicated, but it really is. So I want you to just put a pin in that, and I'm going to come back to that later. But I want to transition just for a second to talking about, I guess that's some sort of pleasure. They're having fun, right? I'm not sure that their pleasure is being spread around to the rest of us, but you know, that's okay. Awesome. They're loving it. Okay, so I want to change gears for a second. And instead of pleasure, I want to talk about the journey that you are on right now. Oh, you didn't know you were on a journey? You are on a journey. What makes something a journey and not a trip? For me, a journey is something that has stops along the way where important, interesting things happen that we learn things from. We maybe even gather some wisdom from those little things that happen to us. Your life is a journey. I certainly hope that what you're doing at EKU is a journey. You think of this as a journey. Really, it's a journey for wisdom. You are on a journey of wisdom. And in fact, I hope that tonight, this is a journey of wisdom. And I say that because we've already learned a little bit about pleasure. I'm not sure that's wisdom, but it's something. But it's also a journey because we are all going to walk down to this paved area, and we're going to walk along that paved area to another location where there are going to be people who are waiting to tell you something important. In fact, what they're going to tell you is their answer to an important question, which is the theme for tonight, the name of this event: why are we here? Figuring out the answer to that question is a journey of wisdom. And so we're going to hear several people's answer to that question. I don't know what they're going to say, but it's going to be great, I can tell you. So let's continue our journey of wisdom, and there are going to be students who are in white or maroon shirts who are going to help us get all in the same place. But if you start walking there in a big crowd, you'll find it, you can't miss it. And I will meet you down at that next location on our journey of wisdom. Ready? Let's do it.
Welcome, everybody. How is everybody doing? Yeah?
Let's go.
Sweet. Okay. Hope your first week was excellent. So we're supposed to tell you why we are here, and it probably overlaps with what you think you are here to do and to be. So I am a first-generation college graduate myself. My name is Dr. Lisa Day. I am the Director of Women and Gender Studies as well as Appalachian Studies. And basically why I'm here is to learn more about and to teach about how normal is a setting on the dryer and nothing about humans whatsoever. So we, in Women and Gender Studies, we teach you to explore, we teach you to analyze, we teach you to describe and discover all aspects of gender and sexuality and intersectionality. Appalachian Studies, we're all about learning more about where you're from, if you're from Appalachia. And if you're not from Appalachia, you can learn more about this excellent region, this beautiful geography, and this historical culture. So that if you want to get a job after you graduate in Appalachia, you'll know more about the region and you'll be better able to communicate with your future employers and possible grad school too. So why are we here? I'm here to learn. I'm here to teach. I love having you here. So thank you for being here.
Hey.
Woo!
Good afternoon, everyone. There's a couple of reasons why I'm here. I think the first one is because I really believe in higher education. I believe that this is your time to ask important questions about yourself, about life, about everything, and I'm here to be a resource to help you with that. I am Dr. Gomez Becerra. I am from Compton, California. And I moved here 3 years ago with that in mind. I moved here because EKU serves first-generation students, because I am a first-generation student, and because I feel responsibility towards you all. So I'm here for that. I'm here also to challenge stereotypes. I'm here to inform you because I teach Spanish and Latinx studies. I'm here to inform you, to teach you, to talk to you about the Latino-Latina community. I'm here to share with you about Spanish, the third most spoken language in the world, right? I'm here to do that, to learn as you learn, and to be a resource. Not only do I know about Spanish, Latinx studies, I like sports, I'm also the faculty in residence, meaning that I live right there. You see those 3 windows? That's me. Just don't come knocking at night, okay? But if you ever need anything, I'm here for you. My office, it's in McCreary Hall, 219. You can find me in Martin Hall. You can see me around. Remember that this is the time to ask questions. This is your time. Enjoy being a student. Enjoy learning. Find that motivates you, and that's going to bring passion into your everyday life. So thank you for being here, because without you, I wouldn't be here. So welcome to EKU.
Welcome, everybody. So your next station is the Powell Building.
All right, everybody, thank you for coming to the Why Are We Here event. So, before I start, I wanted to preface with this theme. Look left and look right. Take a look at the people around you. To me, that's why we're here, all right? So my name's Travis Martin, in case you don't know who I am. You probably got several emails from me, and you're sick of my emails. Feel free to block me after night. Unless you're one of my students, don't do that. It will be to your detriment. So, look left, look right, look at the people around you. You all are coming up in college in one of the toughest times in history. You know, some people in this crowd maybe have lost family members to COVID. Some may lose family members yet. There are people around you that are suffering. There are people around you who've been through things you cannot imagine. We often don't think about things like that. Often we get in tunnel vision, especially when we're stressed out. So when you look left and you look right, try to do so with compassion. And that's what I want to talk about. So why are we here? In my opinion, I think it's to do something better to the world, to help those around us. And I want to tell the stories of two people that I know who did that. The first name was Kevin Jones. I knew Kevin Jones back in 2005. This is the type of guy always smiling, always happy. Knew everybody by a first name basis. He'd shake your hand, he'd look you in the eye, and he'd say, "Good morning, Travis. Good afternoon, Travis." And he was so happy it would almost be annoying. But he was like that no matter how hard times got. And he was somebody that really taught me to look left and look right, to really appreciate the people around me and to show them that they were appreciated. I want to tell you another story about a guy named Frank DeBattiste. Frank DeBattiste was a student assistant of mine back in 2012, and I had him in my first year seminar class. How many of you are taking a first year seminar class right now? Quite a few of you, I'd imagine. Well, we have like what we call first year leaders in these classes, and Frank, he wasn't a first year leader, but he came to the classes anyway after he took it, just to try to help. He didn't have anything to do, and he said, "Can I show up and just kind of give people advice?" He looked left, he looked right, and he looked out for the people around him. These are two people that kept teaching me something every time that I interact with them. They taught me how to be better people. Now, if you look around this space that we're in Powell Plaza, if you were to look over there underneath the flag for the Army, you would find Kevin's name memorialized. He was killed in Iraq in 2005. If you were to go to behind the Peace Chapel here, and you would look on one of the granite benches, you would find Frank's name. He died in 2013. I like to think if I would have looked left and I would have looked right a little bit more, then maybe I could have made a difference, that maybe they would still be here. And that's a tragic story. I understand that. It's certainly tragic for the people that were closest to them. However, I tried to make something positive out of it, out of knowing those two men who really taught me something. They taught me about resilience. They taught me about making a difference with the time you have and how short and precious that time is. And that's why you're here at Eastern Kentucky University. You're here to transform. You're here to make something of yourself so that you can improve the world around you. So when I ask you why you're here, I hope that before you answer the question, you'll look left, you'll look right, and you'll make the decision to make a difference in the lives of people around you. Thank you.
Testing? Not testing? More testing? Yes. Okay. First of all, I want to say welcome to EKU. I am also a first-generation college student. Came here 38 years ago as an 18-year-old, and that kind of tells my age. So, you know, I don't do that very often publicly, but I'll let you know today. Just to let you know that it can be a journey. It can be a great journey. And answering the question of why are we here, I want to personalize it and say to you all that you have to ask the question, why am I here? And so when you ask that question, I want you to think forward what you want your life to look back and reflecting on it, say 4 years down the road when you're that senior walking down the aisle with the hat on your head, getting that diploma. In that journey, one of the things that I encourage you to do is to continue to ask that question of why am I here? Continue to build upon your goals and dreams. Reach out to your colleagues, friends, professors, mentors, advisors, and allow them to become a part of your support system. That's important. That you basically surround yourself with people that can build you up, help you to identify your strengths. Anybody that knows me, when you take my classes, I'm a professor in the psychology department, and said, And so when you take my classes, one of the things I encourage people to do is to always look for their strengths, identify what those are, build upon them. And I don't think there's such a thing as a deficit. Now, you might have areas that you need to work on and build up, but even those can sometimes become your strongest strengths. Okay, so I encourage you to ask the question of why am I here? Continue to ask it, continue to build upon your strengths, and always rely on looking left and looking right and finding people in your life that can support you in a way that will push you forward and hold you up. And I think that's all I have.
How's everyone doing? Okay, let's try that one more time. How's everyone doing? That's better. I like to feel a little bit of energy before I give my why are we here. And as I bob my head, I feel like every time I walk to a podium, I need like intro music, right? So I feel like I'm ready. I need a little bit of music, but I'm not going to turn on music. I'm just going to stick to the script that I was given. So the question that we were asking, for those that don't know me, I had a chance to meet many of you throughout the orientation and Biggie welcome process. Some of you actually got to see me present your orientation presentation. My name is Danny Moore. I have the privilege of serving as the Vice President for Student Life and Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. And I've been at Eastern now for a little over a year. So when given the opportunity to kind of talk about why are we here, I was excited to participate. I love engaging with students. So when I thought about what I wanted to talk about, and we were given a little bit of time, so I thought about what did I want to say? Why are we here? And what came to mind was to be comfortable being uncomfortable. To be comfortable being uncomfortable. So the reason I think that we are here to be comfortable being uncomfortable took me back to when I was like you, a first-year college student, fresh out of high school, ready to take over the world and attend college. And unlike many students, that journey for me wasn't easy, right? Like it wasn't like I filled out all these applications and everyone was like, yay, Danny, come to my institution. It was a struggle. I graduated from high school. I had some options, but not a ton of them. I was one of those students that I'm not going to say I was a stellar high school student by any stretch of the imagination. And I got to college and something happened. And I'm not sure what it was. All my life, I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I hung out with the same people. I went to high school with the same people I went to elementary school with. I interacted with the same organizations. I played on the same AAU sports teams. And for my whole 18 years of life, I interacted with the same people. For no stretch of the imagination, I was comfortable. I liked being comfortable. I liked my safety net. I ate the same meal 5 days a week. I went to the same parking spot every day. I took the same route home. So I was comfortable every day. I liked my norms, and I stuck with it. And then I went to college. And for about the first year, I stayed comfortable, right? I hung out with the people that I knew from high school. I stayed far away from everything. I did just enough to get by, and then something happened. Someone said, hey, Danny, you should think about student government. And that for me, that was well outside of my comfort zone. No one from Milwaukee got involved in student government. No one was engaged. We all did our thing, and it happened. I was uncomfortable. I had to interact with a ton of people that I didn't know, a lot of people that didn't come from where I came from, a lot of people that didn't do the things that I did, and a bulb clicked. At that moment, I became a stellar student. I got involved in everything. I joined Greek life. I joined organizations. For some reason, that moment I got outside of my comfort zone, I realized that that's when the growth was happening. So for me, I think we are here to be comfortable being uncomfortable. As you get involved or as you engage throughout this college experience, there's going to be a lot of moments where you're going to be stretched a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And that's when growth happens. So if I can give you one word, it's to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Thank you.
Good evening. How's everybody doing? It is good to be with you. I'm the only thing standing between you and looks like some snow cones and some kettle corn and having a little bit of fun, right? Maybe some pleasure, Dr. Winslow. Dr. Winslow can be provocative if given the chance, but his goal is for you to learn. So Dr. Moore maybe just kind of threw me a curveball on what I want to talk about. You know, when we talk about why we're here, Dr. Martin hit the nail on the head. It's look to your left and look to your right. We're here for you. We're here for each other. I think if this pandemic has taught us anything, that it is being in a community that cares about one another, who lifts each other up, who is there to support one another, that defines what being a part of a community is about. As we think about getting comfortable being uncomfortable, I want to tell you a little bit about my story. 25 years ago today, I came here as a first-generation college student from Eastern Kentucky. The first of my family to go to college. My mother is one of 13, the only one to graduate from high school. And when I got here, my parents dropped me off, and I thought, what is this going to be like? What am I going to learn? Who am I going to become? Am I committed to becoming the best version of myself? The question is, what was I going to get out? But what I should have been focused on is what am I going to put in? Dr. Winslow, when he spoke to the new freshmen, I think there's some in this group that had a chance to hear him speak a week ago Sunday. He said, give us 4 weeks. Give us 4 weeks of the best of you, and I promise you, it will all start to come together. It will all start to click. You will become the best version of yourself if you put in to get out what you want. I want you to ask yourself, what do you want from this experience? What is the transformation that you want to see in yourself? Do you know what the best version of you looks like? I didn't have a chance to hear everything that Dr. Winslow said, but there's something I talk about when it comes to higher education that is fundamentally important. I want you to think about this. This experience is not designed to be transactional. It is not, you pay for tuition, you pay for room and board, you pay for a parking spot. You did not pay for books. There we go, Booksmart. Give us some love for Booksmart. But this is about a transformational experience. It is about you learning, growing, understanding the world is a very big place, and that not everyone looks like you, not everyone thinks like you, and not everyone is like you, but every one of you has immense value to yourself and to those around you. We are here for you in this journey. We are here to help you become the best version of yourself. And when you leave here, a proud alum of this institution, we are dedicated to that diploma hanging on the wall, continuing to grow in value to you, to your family, and to those who you come in contact with in this world. So I want you to say this with me. We are here for who? You. Let's say it together. We're here for who? You. One more time. Let's do it so we can hear it down there. You are here for who? You. All right. Look at each other. Thank you all very much. Have a great semester. Give us your best. Dr. Winslow, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, so can you hear those drums down there? Go find those drums. I've got a few more things to say to you down in the ravine. There's a big screen down there. So go down and find those drums. Thank you for coming with us on this journey. Well, our journey's not quite over, but it's getting there. Before we take one more step on this journey, there are some people that I really want to thank for making this possible, because I didn't do this by myself, not by a long shot. So I want to thank a few people to begin with. So, first one is Travis Martin, that guy who talked down in the Powell Center, the guy with the beard. Look left, look right. He has been my collaborator, my colleague, and my friend. Without him, this would not have worked at all, so thank you, Travis. I also want to thank the other sages that we found on our journey here, right? So at the first stop we had Dr. Jose Juan Gomez Becerra, Dr. Lisa Day, awesome job. 2 friends of mine, I love these, they're all friends of mine. Then we had Travis Martin and Teresa Botts. Teresa Botts is one of my colleagues in the psychology department. She is a mentor of mine. She's incredible. If you can get to know them, these people, you should do it. And then Danny Moore, Dr. Danny Moore and President McFadden, my boss. Shout out to my boss, thank you. He's not paying attention to me even. That's all right. That's fine, I must be doing a good job. Okay, so thank you to all those people. Thank you to all these people. This is hard to read. There's some all-stars here. So Sarah Ziegler, Jeremy Mulholland, Ryan Wilson, Abby Puffenberger, people in conferencing and events. I know this is boring, but it's important to me because these people made this whole thing happen. Communications and brand management, class deans. I just saw my dean here, another one of my bosses. I've got a whole bunch. School of Music. Let's hear it for the band, the marching band. Woo! Yeah, at the beginning. Love that. That was awesome. And then the Brazilian drumming band. That was incredible. I love hearing them. They're just awesome. Students, all of them, right? All students. Fantastic. Then I also want to thank first year courses, Star, and Tiffany and Donna, student alumni ambassadors, student life, student volunteers, the people who helped you get here. I'll say more about them at the end. And then the Kentucky National Guard, they're setting up over there. There's going to be a bunch of games and stuff. So thank you to all of those people who helped make this weird idea that I had in May a reality. My thanks. Okay, so let me just recap what we did up at the Turner Gate. Because we learned about pleasure. Yeah, and I'm not done talking about pleasure. There's more. We learned something incredible about pleasure. There is a certain kind of pleasure that comes from effort. And the more you work on something, the more pleasure you get. And we learned that that pleasure can sometimes be really long-lasting. It might even last your entire life. And we learned that that kind of pleasure can benefit not just you, but a whole bunch of people around you. That's pretty incredible. Right? It's a pretty incredible thing about pleasure. You thought pleasure was some other thing totally, didn't you? That's what psychology is, telling you stuff you didn't think was true. Okay. But I do have some bad news. I have some bad news about pleasure. It's going to sound like good news at first. It's going to sound like really good news at first, but it's not. It's actually bad news. And here it is. There's bad pleasure. That sounds weird. Bad pleasure. But it's bad pleasure because we have now invented something that gives us pleasure with almost no effort. In fact, as little effort as they can make it. They would love to make this pleasure happen to you without you doing anything. In fact, if they could do that, sounds pretty good, right? Not really, because that pleasure also starts immediately. As soon as you start doing it, it feels good. Also, you can do it any time of the day or night. Any time of the day or night. Imagine that. Plus, it's everywhere. You can do it anywhere. Anywhere you go, you can do this. And it's free. It's totally free or basically free. It feels free. Well, that sounds like a pretty good deal, doesn't it? Pleasure. The last thing I'll say is that it's frictionless. And what that means here is that, again, you don't really need to do anything. They've set it up so that it just flows without any resistance. So what is this source of pleasure that I'm talking about? Who knows? I've already mentioned it to you tonight. A couple times even. Come on, anybody? Anybody have a guess? TikTok. Yes, thank you. It's social media. Social media has, you turn it on, it's fun right then. It's pleasurable right then. You can do it anywhere, everywhere. It's free. It's easy. You don't need to do anything. And yeah, TikTok, it's one of my favorites right now. Because TikTok is designed in a genius fashion. Other social media, you gotta push down or swipe. What's TikTok's move? Flick, right? It's just a little flick. It feels like nothing. You're watching a little video, it's funny, and then you're like, oh, next one. Next one. And it's unlimited. I should put that up there. It's unlimited because you're never going to see all the TikToks. You're never going to see all of Instagram or all of Facebook or all of Twitter. It's unlimited. So why is it so bad? Why am I saying that social media is a bad kind of pleasure? Well, I'm saying it's bad because it is really super powerful. It is really a powerful thing, and it's powerful for two reasons. Stay with me here. We don't have too much more before you get to the fun stuff. One reason why social media is really powerful is that it is really calibrated to what humans really like. And one of the things that humans really like is social stuff. We like people. We like to watch people, learn about people, interact with people. We like to have friends with people. And social media, it's right in the first word, social. It's an old kind of pleasure. Humans have been getting pleasure from other people since there have been humans. But not only is social media calibrated to what humans like, it's calibrated to what you like. And I told you about your pleasure before up at the Turner Gate, but I don't know anything about your pleasure compared to these guys. They know all about you and your pleasure. About you and specifically you, right? They've got a whole file on you. They know everything you've ever done on social media. They know about every link that you've clicked on, every picture that you've blown up, everything that you've posted, every place you've been, all your friends, where you work, everything about you. They have all of that information about you in particular so they can tailor what happens to you based on what you find the most pleasurable. So they know exactly about you in particular, and every other person on social media. So it's incredibly calibrated to us as individuals. And the second reason it's so powerful is because of all the resources they have, right? Because they essentially have unlimited money. They have hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. They can do anything they want. They can buy anything, try anything. They have all the money in the world. They also have some of the smartest people in the world. And they have the biggest data set ever constructed. And that data set is full of human behavior, your behavior. And they can mine that data set to find out what you like so they can give it to you, because their goal is not about you. Their goal is not about your pleasure. Their goal is to get you to look at your device for as long as possible and to never stop looking at it. That's what they want. They want your eyeballs. And they're really good at it. How powerful is it? I'll tell you a little story. Back when social media was just starting and our smartphones were just starting, there were a lot of jokes at the time about people having sex and looking at their phone at the same time. You knew I had to talk about sex, right? I'm a psychology professor. Anyway, so I don't know if anybody actually looks at their phone while they're having sex. I have no idea. But let me ask you this. Have you thought about it? Maybe. If you have, let's just think about what that means. Because sexual pleasure is pretty intense pleasure, very important pleasure. But that intense, primal pleasure can be interrupted by something else that is not about sexual pleasure at all, or at least most of it, some of it. That is power. If you can interrupt people while they're engaging in an intense source of pleasure and make them think about something else, that's power. So social media is incredibly powerful, and this is the way I think about it. It's a giant whirlpool. It's a giant whirlpool that has popped up all of a sudden really close to us on our journey of wisdom. And that whirlpool is trying to pull us into it at every moment. Every waking moment, that whirlpool is there. It's in our pockets. It's next to us on our bedstand. It's with us at work. I see people looking at it right this second. It's everywhere we are. And that sucking whirlpool is trying to pull us down into it. And remember, what I just said was, being in that whirlpool feels really good. Feels really good. So what's the problem? The problem is every second you spend in this whirlpool is a second that you're not spending trying to do anything else. Now, why are you here? I bet your answer is not about how much can I look at my phone. I doubt that your goal for your life or for an EKU is about trying to spend as much time on your phone as possible. Because if it was, you wouldn't come to Eastern. That's a waste, right? You can just stay home and be on your phone all the time. But you've chosen to be here because you have some other goal besides the whirlpool. So what I'm telling you is you've got to be aware that this whirlpool is there. I'm getting sucked into the whirlpool just like you are. Everybody you know is dealing with this whirlpool. And it is dragging us into it, and frankly, I think as a society, we're pretty far down already. So what's the answer? How do you deal with this whirlpool? Because I don't blame you for this. I don't think that you're a bad person because you're on social media. I'm on there too. I think that we're victims here. Victims of companies who want to steal our attention away from anything else so they can make money, because that's what they do. But if you want to do anything other than look at your phone, be a good friend, look left, look right, study anything, develop a career, if you want to do anything besides look at your phone, you've got to be aware that it's there and you've got to steer your way out of it. So how do we do that? What's the solution? I hope you're not surprised to hear me say that I think the solution is the other kind of pleasure that we talked about, right? Pleasure that comes from effort. So pleasure that can be long-lasting, pleasure that can give other people around us pleasure too. This is pleasure that is related to your goals in life, because your goals in life are this kind of pleasure. So we're close to our journey's end for tonight. Just a few more things, I promise, then we're done. Why am I talking about pleasure so much? That's a weird thing to have a whole thing like this. Pleasure. Well, here's the kicker. And you've heard some of the people on your journey over here say the same thing that I'm going to say right now. Your classes can be sources of pleasure. Thank you. My friends over there. Professors over there. Your classes can be sources of pleasure because your classes work like Erica's basketball does. Like your favorite game does. The more you work on your classes, the more pleasure you're going to get from them. You're going to like them more. And the more you work on those classes, the longer that pleasure will last. And when you do that, other people around you will receive pleasure as well. Imagine your parents or your family or your friends. When you do something that you're proud of, they will receive pleasure too. You can give them that pleasure. That's pretty cool. So let me just give you my answer to this question. I know we've been asking you this and you've heard other people's answer. I'm going to tell you my answer. It's very similar to what some of the other people said. The reason I'm here is to create classes where this dynamic that exists between effort and pleasure is obvious. The more you work in my classes, the more pleasure you can get. And the pleasure you get from my classes can last a long time. And the pleasure you get from my classes can give other people pleasure too. And that's just not my goal. It's my friend's goal. All the people you heard on that walk, it's their goal too, whether they said it or not, whether they use these words or not. That's what they want for you. They want you to get pleasure from their classes. But in order to do it, you've got to do the work. So, why are you here? I hope that pleasure has something to do with it. I am not against pleasure. I am pro-pleasure. Lots of different kinds of pleasure. And you should sample many of them. But especially the kind of pleasure that comes from effort. So what you need to do is look in your classes, because sometimes it's not easy to see. Look in your classes for where this dynamic exists. What is it about this class that you're in that if you work hard on it, you get more pleasure? Because if you're in a class and you work really hard and it doesn't give you any pleasure, I don't think you're going to do that for much longer, right? That's no fun. So look for the pleasure in your courses, especially that comes from work, because that will pay off in long term and the people around you as well. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of wisdom. This is a phrase that one of my grad school buddies and I tried to live by back in grad school 1,000,000 years ago. It's hard to read up there, but it says, work hard, play hard. Work hard, play hard. This is a way of life. Or it was a way of life. It is a way of life for me. And it works really well. It makes me the happiest when I do both these things. When I work really hard and then I play really hard, I'm the happiest Matt Winslow in the world. But you got to remember to do both parts. And in my experience, doing them in this order works the best. But don't forget, either one of these by themselves is no good. You got to do both. So I am pro working hard, I'm pro playing hard, and that's what we're going to do at this point, I hope, is to think about playing hard. So, around you, and you saw some of these people on our journey, there are people who have those laminated cards with a QR code on it. If you need proof of attendance for any class that you're in, this is the way to get it. Scan those QR codes, fill out that form, you'll get proof of attendance, and we're also going to do some raffling. So make sure you do that. Find those people that are standing around the ravine right now. That was them in the back. There they are. And let's have some fun. So there are food trucks, there are games, there are tables with people who want to talk to you and talk about pleasure. Ask them about their pleasure. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. Good luck this semester. Hang in there. And don't forget about the work hard and play hard. All right.